Welcome to the Big Woods Bucks podcast. I'm your host, Hal Blood, and we're still out here at Joe DiNitto's man cave. And today, I got Good Lee with me because he had to make the trip. I had to talk him into the trip, but he made it. He goes where I go now. Yeah,
I'm glad he's down here.
Yeah, he's a good boy. And we just both do what they tell us to do.
Right.
The higher-ups. Yeah, so we got Joe DiNitto here today and Steve Grabowski, the ADK Trackers.
Yep.
Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit because we've been discussing this over the years anyways, but we noticed that a lot of the guys in the Adirondacks like their bolt guns and scopes and stuff, and I always wondered why, but once I started hunting here, I got it figured out. There's a lot more open country than back in Maine, right?
Yeah, there sure is. We don't get the logging that you guys do, and a lot of times if you got the bolt action and if it's your favorite gun, it is the gun to use.
Yeah, and I can see why. It's and because your woods isn't as thick, I would say you're not going to tend to get snow dumped down all over your gun and going through the thick stuff.
Well, you're always going to get some of that, but obviously not quite as much as they do in Maine. Maine with when you guys get the cut that happens to be 6-7 years old, and that's where the buck went. You got to go with them, and that the pump action with the peep sight, if you don't scope it, sometimes can be better. But we're a little more open country. I do agree with that, Hal.
Yeah, that's why it's easy to kill the bucks. Yeah. Here's a few words from our sponsors. They're all top-notch people. We're glad to have them aboard. Make sure you support them. That's what keeps us going. Being the low-tech guy I am, there's one thing I've learned to embrace with technology, and it's my Onyx. I used to carry maps and GPS when it finally came out and stuff, but the Onyx has eliminated that because I've got my GPS in my phone now with my Onyx app. I can mark everything in that. It's helpful that I can show other people by putting a pin in if I want to send somebody to a place. Being a guide, that's important, I can give them the pin, put it in there, I text it to them, whatever. So if you want to get your Onyx, get your Big Woods Bucks code, BWB, and get your 20% off, but I highly recommend it. Give you a little update, Skinner Sights. We all know they're the best sight going, but it's a great company because Andy and the crew there are innovative and they're always thinking up either new models to make a sight for, improve the sights, making mounts for scopes, and now they've come on with their own line of scopes and red dots. Whatever Andy does in the company, it's top-notch, first quality, and they stand behind everything, and we're glad to have them as a partner, and we hope you'll try their sights, and you can trust your life with those, and they're going to get you the game. So get your Skinner sights, and you can trust me that you're going to be glad you did. Just wanted to talk a little bit about minus 33 in the wool they have, which I believe is best wool going, whether it's base layers or your socks or whatever you're wearing. You got to have wool. I've been stressing that for people for years, to wear your wool, whether it's the outerwear or even your base layers and socks. I've been to the tour of the plant, see how they make their socks, and it's quality, the fit is right, and they're going to be long-lasting. I've got socks I've had now for several years, and they look like I'll have them for several years more before they even think about wearing out. So I trust my life to wool, and you can too. Minus 33. All right, back to the podcast.
Well, now that's a whole nother topic. So we're not gonna fight that one out.
Shots fired again.
Yeah.
That's why you guys can be snipers out here.
Yeah. Because our shots out here, they're 55 yards as compared to your 45-yard shot. So you need that long range bullet. Well, on that topic of on the guns and whatnot, I've always been a big believer on the gun that you are most comfortable with is the gun that you should have. But we don't want anybody to jump to the 7600 or the 760s or the pump guns if they're more comfortable with the bolt action.
Yeah.
There's no real reason for it. Nobody's promoting one over the other. It's just what you're most comfortable with. And I think we all agree the one you're most comfortable with, that's also a light gun. If you're going to try this tracking thing, you kind of want to lug around a lighter gun.
Yeah. It's with you the whole day.
Yeah.
You're not sitting around with it resting on the tree. You're lugging it.
Absolutely. And myself, just from my own personal experience from years ago, I would carry my 760 pump with a see-through mount and a scope. And then I had a Browning bolt action with no see-through mount. And the Browning was quite a bit lighter as compared to the pump with the scope.
Yeah.
And just that pound or so difference at the end of the day, I knew it.
Yeah.
You know, I knew I was carrying a heavier gun.
The other thing is the barrel length, because especially when you get into the thicker stuff, if you got a long barrel, you got to steer it through the stuff more than a carbine you would. So light gun, short barrels. Yeah.
Exactly right, as far as even steering it. But a lot of guys will put their gun on their shoulder and have it slung. And when you go to duck under a branch, if you've got the longer barrel, it'll catch stuff where the other one will go with you and dip underneath it.
You know what I say about slings?
Yeah, I didn't say we carried the slings, but
if it's on your shoulder, you're not hunting.
Yeah. But and there are other times when you really aren't hunting. You're coming out after dark and you slung your gun or whatever the case might be. It does navigate the woods a lot easier. So pick your favorite gun, but lean toward the lighter, shorter guns if you're going to try that big woods track. And whether it's in Maine or New York or Ontario or wherever you happen to go, Montana, if you're going to try it and you got a choice between a couple of guns.
This is all we do, though, too. So we fine tune our, we don't really hunt any other way. Where you could get some guys, they do everything. A lot of guys aren't going to buy two guns until they really get into it. So they might be compromising.
Right. No, that's very true. But if you are going to try this and you're leaning toward a gun and you are a bolt action guy, that's fine. Just buy a light bolt action.
Yeah. There's so many nowadays. It's easy to find something. Yeah. I tell people. Just different, even the different brands fit different. Everybody's noticed that. Some guns just seem to fit you good, and other brands don't seem to fit you good. Depends on your body size and shape and configuration. So,
and we got a prime example of that right here on the table. Steve has got a honeycomb stock. Can you tip that up, Steve, and just show him? And you see the honeycomb on there. And then my gun, which is the identical gun, does not. His gun fits him, and my gun fits me.
I can shoot that. I pull up and my eye looks right down the peep sight where some guys pull up and they can't see that.
It's because you got
just
no
because
neck.
the cheek.
Whatever it is, it works.
The cheek's a little bit different.
It's the high comb which was designed for a scope to get your cheek up a little higher. But so I tell people, hey, if you want to figure out what you want for a gun, go down to the gun shop and start looking at them.
Start feeling them, yeah.
Yeah, don't just buy one because your buddy says, hey, get this gun. Make sure it's going to fit you,
Right. And we're talking about pumps and bolt actions right here, but we all know the lever action's becoming pretty popular, and it's also a great gun. Yeah. And they make a really light lever action, but it's got to be the gun that fits you. Don't pick one because you think it's right.
Yeah.
Hal makes a great point. Get down to the gun place. I mean, if you can shoot different guns, that would be great. And most seasoned hunters for sure know what they like.
Yeah, and you can pretty much tell if you throw a gun up and look down the sights if it fits you. If you close your eyes and pull it up, and you open your eyes and you're not looking down the barrel, it doesn't fit you.
Right.
One thing somebody told me once a long time ago, too, when you're holding a gun or trying to feel a gun or even sight a gun in, try to wear, like if you wear a bulky jacket when you're hunting, try to wear a bulky jacket when you're looking down the gun. You wear a T-shirt, it might not act the same to you.
Yeah.
Joe and I discovered that one time we were shooting tires down to the pit, and I said, I'm going to wear my gloves that I always wear. Remember this, Joe? And I went to work the action of the same gun before I had a scope on it at the time, and my hand slipped on the gun. I couldn't even pull it back. It was so slippery. So I would have never known that if I was in the woods, just first time shooting at a deer because I sighted in, whatever, and I wouldn't have noticed that. But then when I was in the woods, I had them gloves on. If my hand slipped, I might have, not been able to rack the next shell in there. So you try to, keep everything uniform and figure it out after that.
Right.
The length of the stock makes a big difference too. You don't want to, like if you're shooting with your T-shirt and it's got a little bit longer stock than you need, you're not going to notice it. But when you got your wool jacket on, it's going to fetch up right there. When you're trying to shoulder that thing, it's going to fetch up. So that's a big consideration too, is the length of pull.
Is that main terminology? Fetch up?
Yeah.
Going to catch, fetch up. I like that.
Fetch up, stove up, drove up.
Yeah.
It's all main stuff.
All main stuff.
All good stuff.
No.
I noticed one thing about the guys that are maybe a little shorter and rugged built guys, they're shorter arms or something. A lot of times, they got a big arms and chest. It's harder for them to get that buttstock in there when they get a jacket on and stuff. So a lot of them that normally could shoot one, full length might have to get it cut, a little bit to accommodate that.
Yeah, and it's that, and we're talking about it with tracking, but this is true no matter what. You're going out west, wherever you're going, get the gun that fits you and works for you. If you're going to try the big woods, the light gun that fits you is the way to go. But if we were talking more about guns and changing the subject just a little bit, it's way more important once you do figure out your gun to get comfortable with it by shooting it. Too many guys, and I've said this before on a podcast, I say it in the seminars, will put their gun on the rest, shoot it at 100 yards, and they could cover it with a quarter or a $50 or whatever. And the gun, all that proves is your gun is sighted in. Now, put a shoebox up at 60 yards and start shooting on it offhand. Now you're learning how to shoot your gun. Yeah. That putting it on the bench and being able to put bullseyes in only proves your gun's a good gun.
I'm glad you mentioned this because Hal and I just did this on a podcast a few weeks ago. And we basically told people, once your gun is sighted in off the bench, stand up and shoot like you would be when you're walking around in the woods. And we just said, if you can keep all of your bullets inside of a circle about that big at 75 yards, which is where we kill most of our deer, you're going to be ready. And you can't believe we had all kinds of comments about that. We weren't saying that, your gun should only be able to shoot 8-inch groups. That's not what we were saying. No. We were saying shoot, hopefully you can get 1 or 2 inch groups with your gun, but then stand up and shoot it offhand and try to keep all your bullets in the kill zone on, and out west, if you're going to be shooting at 200 yards, you need to do it at 200. But in Maine, I don't know how much you guys, what your average is, but in Maine, 50 or 75 yards, that's where we kill 90% of our deer.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the longer shots, obviously, you want to rest or whatever, but in the big woods, they're going to be under 75 yards. But it's a humbling event for me every year that I go out and shoot my gun at that shoebox offhand, how, I don't want to say poor shot I am, but how much better I can get with a couple of boxes of shells. Get comfortable with your gun. It's no different than any other muscle memory thing. I mean, if you golf good all season and then you don't golf for a year, the next year you don't pick up your clubs and are in the same place, you got to work your way back in. It's the same with shooting the gun. And the amount of time, effort, and money we put into this sport, a couple of afternoons at the shooting range and a couple of boxes of shells is a small price to pay to actually make the shot.
Well, it all boils down to you only might have one chance all season. Chance.
Tell them what your father said, Joe.
Well, my dad always said that, why do you got to shoot so many times? He says, only one good shot's better than 4 fast, poor ones. I says, yeah, but Dad, my one good shot's my 4th one. So I got to get shooting.
Yeah.
So you got to practice, and you got to practice realistically. They were talking about, if your gun is fetching up on you and you got the right clothes on and whatnot, but when you go to practice at that shoebox, pretend it is a deer. Don't take 10 minutes to aim or 5 minutes or 5 seconds. Shoot like it was a deer. Pretend it's a deer. Pull your gun up and say, there he is. Make it happen.
The other thing is too many people, even if they want to shoot offhand, they try to get into like some proper stance. Don't even do that. Just practice shooting wherever your feet are at the time, because you don't have time in the woods for a proper stance. So just practice shooting straight on, your feet side by side, maybe 1 foot ahead of the other like you're walking.
Yeah, and
practice that way.
And I'll be the first one to testify. When I was a young hunter, one of the main things that got me from hunting bucks to killing bucks was practice. I missed a lot of bucks I should have killed, and the gun shot good, and it was me who didn't. I was the one who didn't shoot good because I didn't practice. I can remember one year, and I obviously don't talk about it much, but I missed 3 bucks that year, and all 3 of them were easy shots. And back then I started hunting some woodchucks and whatnot that summer, and I was a terrible shot, but toward the end of the summer I got pretty good. In the following year to shoot the 1 buck that I did was not even a challenge. It seemed like he was huge all of a sudden because I practiced.
I can't, you're man enough to admit that, Joe. Most people don't want to admit their failures, but that's how people learn, right? You learn from your mistakes. You learn way more from your mistakes than you do from your successes. And a lot of people don't want to admit that, hey, everybody needs practice and everybody screws up. So that's why you do practice.
Yeah. I needed every year. For sure. And I'm not even as comfortable with my gun when I'm hunting unless I practice that. Don't think you got to do it ahead of time, too. You can do it right during the season. You get you hunted a week or two and you're thinking you're already in the season and you shot it off the bench and you didn't get a chance to practice offhand. Get a couple boxes of shells and go out and run them through there. You'll feel so much better when the time comes. And I joke about it in the seminars, and somebody will say, well, you know how expensive guns are? We don't even want, or shells, I mean, to shoot 2 boxes of shells at a target, and it just seems like a lot of money. You don't even want to get into how expensive this sport is per pound. Yeah. So, but it's well worth it. Well worth it if we're talking about guns practice.
Yeah. I was fortunate that when I was 10 years old, my grandfather had the Beagles, and we rabbit hunted starting October 1st. So I had a month of shooting rabbits on the run ahead of dogs before deer season ever got going.
Well, any type of practice is great practice. And even though it was hunting practice, it was getting you better for
I think that's why I ended up being good at running shots, because I shot thousands of rabbits that way.
Right.
And it's the same thing. They kind of run the same, them long bounds, you know. But that ended up, I just fortunate to be able to have that practice, and some people never rabbit hunted, so you got to get practice in somehow.
Yeah, and we were so busy on the farm, and that's just an excuse, because it's all priorities, and what you do and what you don't do. But I'll tell you, like I said, I missed a lot of opportunities because I didn't practice enough. I thought the gun was on, and thinking about it when you're calm, cool, and collective, I'll just put the bead on them, or I'll just put the crosshairs on them. I know the gun's good. I'll shoot them, no problem. Everybody knows it's a whole different game when the buck's in front of you and you only got a split second and things are happening. And if it's muscle memory, it'll happen a lot easier than when it's not.
Yeah.
You know?
I just covered last week on the throwback that if you've got a pump, if your centerfire rifle that you hunt deer with is a pump, it's a good idea to get a pump 22, or if you've got a lever gun, get a lever 22 or bolt, whatever.
Oh, and for sure.
And I don't care where you live, there's squirrels basically everywhere, right? And they're little woods rats. They're not really good for much. So, if you go out in Maine, there's no limit on red squirrels or whatever. I have some camps up north, and when I go up there, because they're always trying to get in the camps, I go out in the hemlocks out behind the camp and shoot red squirrels. That's pretty good practice. They're moving a little bit. It's a small target. Shooting squirrels with a 22 is good practice on shooting deer with your hot 6 later on.
That's right. And the other point about this too, if you want to bring in the young hunters and you got a son, a nephew, or any young hunter coming onto the scene, shooting a 22 a bunch of times is a whole lot better than shooting a big, powerful rifle many times. He could actually get a little gun shy and have a bad flinch if he's shooting the big gun too much or not quite, whatever. The 22, he's going to get used to no kick. And another great place, if you got a river nearby in the fall and the leaves are going down the river, that's a lot of fun because you see where you hit right when you shoot because of splashes. And the leaves moving. So I get in that real still water, but some guys get in that faster move. I don't want to practice there. It's embarrassing. But that's a lot of fun. You go down there with a box of 22 shells and shoot at those leaves. I haven't done that in a few years, but I think this would be a good year to do it.
Next time, do it a little further away from where I'm trying to cast, though.
Well, we're both fishing, Steve. Mine's just different than yours.
You're spearfishing.
Yeah. But any kind of practice is great for this.
Yeah, when my son was younger, I'd buy them bricks of 500 22s and let him shoot them till he was tired of shooting that day, and do it. And I do the same thing with Rylan once in a while. He wants to shoot. I got one of those them spinner things. It's got a round bullseye on each side. One's like probably 3 inches, and the other one's probably 2 1.5 inches or something. That spins. With a 22, immediately if you hit it or not.
Oh yeah,
So,
makes it fun.
Yeah, you can get practicing with that and just.
Yeah, and Lee and Hal are obviously fortunate enough to be out in the country and shoot quite a bit throughout the year and squirrels and that. But some of the guys who are more closer to the city or don't have the backyards to do it in, it doesn't take but a trip or two to the range to really, right before the season, to feel a lot more comfortable. Yeah. This doesn't got to be conditioned. It's very fortunate, and that's why they're as good as they are, that they've done it their whole lives and do it almost year-round. But even once or twice makes a huge difference. Huge.
Closer to the season, the better.
Closer to the season, the better, and you're going to feel a lot more confident with your gun. In fact, you can't see this buck over here, but he was one of my best bucks, one of my favorite bucks, and it was only a couple of years ago. But to get into one buck story about a gun and practice, and I did practice quite a bit that year, and I tracked that buck for about 5.5 hours, and he was with 2 does, and I knew he wasn't going far. So I basically stalked him for 5.5 hours. We didn't cover a mile. I know we didn't, 3/4 of a mile, but I knew where was he going to go? He's with these 2 does. Anyway, a long story to get over. When I finally did see the deer, I was standing still, and I happened to have the bolt action Browning with me that day. On a side note, I carry the scope when it's a clear day with no snow on the trees. Any other day, I've got the peep sight because snow coming down, snow on the trees, or raining, and there's snow on the ground, I got to constantly clean my scope. So I happened to have the scope that day because it was a clear day. But back to the story, I knew I was close to the deer all day, and when he finally showed himself, it was a split-second shot. I was looking for him. I was standing still, and I go, "Oh, there he is!" Boom, and it was over. And I actually went back down and said, "Did that just happen? Did I just shoot it?" Yeah, it was that quick because it was there, boom, and he was gone, and I stood there for a minute. Did I hit him? It felt good, but if not for the muscle memory of practicing, I would not have pulled that shot that fast. And my great friend Jim Massett tells a similar story when we had him with a gun like that and shot really quick. Well, anyway, I waited about 10 minutes, and I actually did the can, and I blew on the grunt call a couple times because I said, he just thinks that was thunder or something. He never saw me, never scented me. He just, maybe, I might call him right over here. I don't know. I don't know if I hit him. And after 10 minutes or so, I said, well, let me go up and hopefully it's not bad news and there's just a running track. Hopefully there's blood or a deer. And I got right to where I shot, and maybe 15 feet in front of it, there he was, laying there dead. And he was an 11-pointer, scored 146. But had I not practiced, had I not been so comfortable with my gun, I honestly believe that deer would have went through that opening. I never would have shot the gun. Like Lee had mentioned, and I had said earlier, and he commented on it, when I was a young hunter and I was hunting, and I'd see a deer like that, I can't tell you how many times the buck I was after would go out, and I would go, there he goes. Yeah, and he had a good rack of horns. And then I looked down and why am I carrying this? I never fired the gun. I never even thought of bringing it to my shoulder. I watched the deer I'm after run away because he was on the move. Well, if you practice enough, when you see the deer, you're already up and floating for that shot. I was
You get a little excited, don't you, Joe?
Yep.
Drove up. The main term is drove up.
Yeah, I get a little drove up. Then I get analysis paralysis. It's good for the deer. It's not so good for me.
Hey, Hal here. I just want to take a minute to talk about our wool gear. Our Big Woods Bucks wool gear it's the best value there is on the market. We have 100% virgin wool clothing, whether it's our packs, pants, jackets, whatever. The virgin wool it's the natural fiber from the sheep, and it wraps into a tight thread. That's what makes it waterproof, pretty much wind resistant, and comfortable to wear. It's quiet for hunting, especially in the big woods. You can't find anything better than wool clothing. So we have ours. It's all made in USA with all US accessories and everything. We've got years of experience guiding and it's thought that's going into this stuff. So we've tried to keep the average hunter in mind and kept the price point at where people can afford it. We hope you enjoy it. Wear your woolies caught in his death.
That's right. On a side note, a funny story, I tracked one buck and got him in finally saw the deer and figured out he was a great big buck. And every time he brought his head up from feeding, all I could see was horns. And when he set it back down, he was out of sight. And there was enough brush between them, I couldn't make him out. And I was so excited. This was a good buck. He was probably 100 yards through the woods, which is a long way, as you know, through the woods. And brush was on. And he'd pick his head up, and I'd see it, and he'd put it back down. And I wasn't shooting my gun a lot back then. This was in the early 90s, late 80s. Finally, he picked it up, and he took a step forward, and I could make out the side of the deer. I said, there he is right there. That's him. I got him. I says, I got to get a good rest. And I laid down because there was a log right there. Don't ever do that. The deer was gone then. I couldn't find him, couldn't see him. And there was a 12-inch tree within reaching distance of me to rest on. Did I think I needed the one on the ground? That would have been more than good enough rest. Well, when I laid down the deer, now I can't find him again because everything has changed. And then I could see his horns every 5 or 6 steps. Well, there he is. The deer walked away and I never fired my gun. I said, what are you doing? Why are you even here? So it was 3:30 in the afternoon. I said, that's all right. I got him. He's not scared. I'll go sneak up and kill him. Yeah, that didn't work. It's dark. Never saw the deer again. Never fired the gun. And I blame that on not practicing. If you shoot your gun 5 shots a year on a bench, you're almost, I don't want to say scared of it, but it's not second nature to bring it to your shoulder.
Right.
That was a great buck that got away from me. All I had to do was lean ahead maybe and set it against that tree and touch her off.
Didn't you go cry to your mother after that one?
Steve, I could leave parts out of the story that we don't. And that's a true story. I had about a 3.5 mile walk out, and it was after dark, and I got out to my truck. I don't know what it was, 7:30. I wanted to leave my gun in the woods. I was that distraught. I mean, I was a young hunter, and this was a great buck. And I remember I drove to my parents and just told my mom the story. I said, I don't even know why I'm carrying a gun. I couldn't even get it in my head why I didn't shoot. That analysis paralysis had my face all over it.
Yeah.
I thought he was just busting on you. I didn't realize
No,
that
I
was a true
honestly did
story.
that. And he remembers the story. I mean,
I'm only going to divulge some of the stories today.
But I mean, but guys, if you take anything out of that story, and is it a little embarrassing for me? Whatever it happened, I don't care. But take the thought of, okay, I can do this, or I can go shoot a box of shells out of my gun. If you're going to put any effort in any, I don't care if you're going out west or here, shoot the gun. That's what we're talking about.
Can't. You'll miss every one you fail to shoot at.
Yeah, and I did miss him.
Yep.
Yep, you'll miss 100% of the shots you don't take. That's for sure.
Yep.
Yep.
Steve,
Hal.
I want you to explain your gun, how you got it set up here,
All right.
and why.
Well, let's see if I can hold this and hold the microphone.
I'll hold the mic for you.
So this is a 7600. It's actually a cheaper model. I think I bought it at Walmart maybe 20 years ago. And it's been through many stages. It's when I first got it, it had a long barrel on it. It's a 308. The reason I got a 308 was because I could get the military rounds for real cheap, and that was when I started shooting tires with Joe. We were going through a lot of shells. So I was shooting the 308 rounds, military, full metal jackets, just like you get them $3 a box back then. So we were putting a lot of rounds through it, and it's had a lot of different stages to it. Eventually, I decided to cut it off. So I had it cut off, but I was still running scope.
18 and a half.
It's 18
Yep.
now, because just pick that number. And I still ran a scope on it. And then, let me go back. I started out hunting the Adirondacks with a Model 7, stainless steel Remington Model 7, 7mm 08. And I saw a buck. I shot at a buck 3 shots that we called the Red River buck. Me and Joe were after him for a few years. And I ended up missing him the first 3 shots. The last shot, I didn't think I was going to see him anymore. I never racked a shell in. And next thing I know, I looked, and there he is broadside looking back at me, but broadside. I didn't have a shell in. So I went back. I called Joe that day, and I said, I'm done with this. What do I get? He goes, get a pump. You'll automatically put that next shell in. Just instinctively, you throw that next shell in. So I sold that gun and bought this gun. Anyways, it's evolved. It's now down to an 18-inch barrel. A couple years ago, I got the peep sight on it now because I got sick of cleaning my scope out. I sent it to our buddy Zach in Pennsylvania a couple years ago, and I got it all Cerakoted now, so I don't have to worry about the rust as bad. And he painted the stock for me. I actually, the first round of this, I hydro dipped it myself to snow camo, but he wanted to repaint it, so I let him repaint it. And if you look at it, I know you can't see on the camera, but on the side I have actually laser engraved my name, and there's a buck right there, an etching of the biggest buck that I've ever killed, and it says ADK in between the antlers. So it actually says 1 of 1 too. There's a serial number on it. It says 1 of 1.
1 of 1.
Yep. So it's not, probably could never sell it for anything because pretty personalized, but that's what I want because I don't ever plan on selling it. So
Yeah.
maybe my nephew or somebody will
It's
have it
your
someday.
gun.
It's my gun
So what's
now.
the biggest buck you ever shot with it? Or ever shot?
It's wrote on Lee's hat.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I can tell you how big it was. It was 162 and 7/8.
I think that's right. 162. Yeah, that was the green score. 162 and 7/8.
Yeah, it's in the camo of my hat. But
Yep.
so yeah, I got that off from Steve the year after he shot it.
After we should tell the story how that happened too.
Yeah,
but-
why don't you go ahead and tell the story?
I mean, of the hat.
That's what I'm talking about.
But yeah, well, that buck killed my 162. 2023, I think it was that 23.
The gun did, yeah.
Yeah, or that gun killed that buck.
Yeah.
Anyways, Lee, we do these shows together, and one morning Lee came over and put Big Woods Bucks paraphernalia all over our stuff, our little mannequin, and we put our ADK Tracker hats on and everything. So they colored us up pretty good with their stuff. So I said, Joe, look, I think we got to play a game on them. So we both signed the hat. And we took it. Oh, you guys were asking for our autographs, right?
I think the next day you may have put your stuff in our booth too. If I
Yeah,
remember
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, turnaround's fair play. So then he had me put the score on it and the date and everything. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I wear this hat. This is my Sunday go to meeting hat. When I do my podcast, this is the hat I wear. So you're with me all the time now, Steve. I was proud of you.
Now let's hear the buck story.
Oh, all right. I guess so. So that buck was, I think it was 22 actually. Now that I see it on your hat there.
Yep, 2022.
I'll try to make it short. But that buck, I actually found his track fairly quick on a trail. And come to find out, right after I found his track, I'd already jumped him. I think I jumped the buck before I ever found the track. I went maybe 100 yards, and there was a bed with a running track out of it. So it was right early in the morning. I decided I didn't want to, I'm not going to give up on that buck, but take a little time, let him go. I got all day. So I circled around a long ways around him. I said, maybe I can find his track coming out here. There was a river down in one spot. So I said, if he crosses the river, I can't do anything about it anyways, but I'll do a big giant swing on him and see if I can find his track. If I don't hit it by the river, then he's gone. I'll go find another track. Well, sure enough, his walking track was coming out from when I circled on him. So I'm like, oh, there he is. I'm back on him. And he had a really good track, but not what Joe calls an oh shit track. He wasn't a once in a lifetime track, but it was a good track. And, it was just a basic tracking job for quite a while going through the woods till he started going up this pretty steep hill. And I said, we've all done it. You look up there and you go, I know you're watching me. You're right up there. You see me. How you doing? You can talk to them. They're gone. They're watching you and they're gone. They get to the top of the hill, bed, running track. That's how it always happens when they go up the hill. So anyways, I got up to the top of the hill and he got to this real thick spot right before the very top of the hill. It was like a long ridge actually. And all of a sudden I'm going to see a bed right there. And there was no bed. He turned and he started paralleling the side of it was real thick right there. He started paralleling the hill. And I said, there's something about it. He didn't want a bed here. He didn't want to continue going because he would have just went right up over, just kept going straight. He's looking for a place to bed, but he doesn't like this spot. And that's just from experience doing it enough, jumping so many, you jump so many and you think it was worthless, but you learn stuff from it, And he actually went into the wind and I said, this is good. So what I did was I circled around him when I got on the very top of that ridge and I just still hunted along looking for him. I made maybe 100-yard swing. I never really leave the track except for this. That's the first time it was ever successful doing it. But I went maybe about 100 yards around him and I started angling back, figuring if he did keep going, I'd catch his track. Well, I think it was about 75 yards and I'm 15 maybe 20 yards in front of me. I stopped and I saw something. I go, that looks like a deer right there. No, it can't be a deer. And then a beach whip blew. It was windy. Good thing it was windy. I go, that's his tail. No, that's a beach whip. Then I'm waiting there and I'm waiting. Normally I carry it because I have the peep sight. I usually carry a monocular with me. So I can look. If I have time, I get the monocular out and I can look. Didn't have it with me. My video from this year, the buck I got, I've got it on video. You can see me pull the monocular out and look, and yep, that's the buck. I put it away and I shoot the buck. But couldn't tell. And he's 15 yards from me, and I couldn't tell what it was for sure. because everything's blowing, you know, and he's in this stuff. Happened like 3 times. And all of a sudden I go, nope, that was a tail for sure. And I swung up and I saw a flicker horn and I let him have it. And he just disappeared. So I ran up there and sure enough, there was a bed, you know, a little bit of hair. And I'm like, same thing with Joe. I go, that just happened? I was sitting there for 5 minutes just wondering, you know, is it even a deer? Next thing I know, it's a deer and it's gone. I already shot and he's gone. But it wasn't far. I tracked him and I got to this little dip right on the top of the ridge. I got to this little dip and he jumped up out of it. He was 5 feet from me. You know, all of a sudden he's right there and I put 2 more in him quick. He was dead anyways, but put 2 more in him quick and end up being, what was it, 181 pounds, 10-pointer, scored 162 something. And
big Adirondack.
big. That's real big for Adirondacks. It was November 18th, which is still pretty heavy for that time of year up there.
Yeah, for the Adirondacks, 180 pounds after November 14th is impressive.
Yeah, and he was run down too. He was in. I think he was in already in the recovery mode.
Yeah.
Now, did you have any idea? Obviously, you knew it was a buck, or you wouldn't have shot at it. But you probably didn't have any idea until you saw him at 5 feet.
No, I didn't know how big he was.
When
no.
you saw him at 5 feet, were you like, "Holy crap! Look at how big he is"?
It's ingrained in my brain when he jumped up at 5 feet away, and I saw him straight from behind. He was going straight away from me. Oof. I saw the rack from behind. I'll never forget that ever. I mean, it seemed like it took an hour, and I said, there's no way that's this buck, you know what I mean? And there's no way. And it seems like I told myself that 100 times in 5 seconds, you know, and then he went down. I got a kind of a cool video I posted on our YouTube page that has the after the fact. It was the year before we started wearing cameras, so I didn't have a camera going, but man, what a show that would have been if I had a camera going then, you know? But it was cool though, because Joe was on a buck and I messaged Joe, with the inReach. I messaged another friend of ours, Harry and Joe, and Joe, I know this is a good day, but you gotta get over here. Just get over here, Joe. Come on. Yeah. I might have said a few other things too, but
I'm sure you've dragged a few for him.
Yeah, we've helped each other.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a huge buck. I was on a decent buck, and I did let a buck go that day, which is, you know, in the Adirondacks, anytime you see a deer or see a buck especially, it's great. Yeah. But Steve convinced me with 2 or 3 more texts, all right, this is a special animal, I got to go, you know. Yeah, but
now, when you got there, did you do the same thing like I've done with some of my buddies? When you get there, you're so happy for them. You're like, "Holy crap, that's a big buck!"
What I did is I walked up there and I surveying it all over. Now I thought maybe Steve was exaggerating because there was some texting going on that on the inReach that it can't be that good. I mean, he's excited. And I got over there and I took a look. Now this buck swings out and comes all the way back around. It's high and it's heavy. And I says, after viewing it a few times, and Steve will tell you, look, I go, Steve, you know the problem with this buck is, and I'm sure he's going to say, thought I was going to say it isn't mine. It says nothing. I go, he's high, he's wide, and he's heavy. I said, you can't draw a better dream buck than this buck laying here on the snow. He's got it all. You know, and it's what an impressive animal. Yeah.
I think it was about a 3.5 hour track. I made it sound quick, but it was about 3.5. But I was going slow on him. He was right there. So I was going slow. You know, I have a hard time going slow in the woods. You know, I hunt a little bit different than some guys, but I'm big, bulky, got Tourette's syndrome. It's hard, you know, it's hard for me to stay quiet and stay calm and, you know, go slow in the woods, but I went slow on it.
You know, and Lee, you brought up a great point when you said, you know, you guys obviously were guides, and it was easy for you to be happy for your client because you're pulling hard for them, and when they shoot a buck, you're extremely excited because I mean it's a success for both of you. But I got to tell you, out in the hunting world, sometimes people get a little jealous or a little bit, you know, that should have been my buck. I can't believe you shot that buck. I hunted him for 2 years and whatnot. And about 30 years ago, it's probably pretty close to 30 years ago when I met Jim Massett. And me as a young guy, I might have been that guy. You know, I wanted it to be my buck, and I wasn't that happy when you shot it or whatever. I wasn't thrilled. And, you know, I was in my late teens, early 20s when I met Jim. And the one thing that I appreciate that Jim Massett taught me more than anything was how to be a gracious hunter, how to be the guy who's happy for the other guy. He taught me how to be happy for you in the sense of it's us against the deer. It's not me against you. He was the only guy I knew that would walk into a camp after just shooting at a 10-pointer with just for, a 10-pointer with an 18-inch spread, whether they shot it or not. And there's 6 other good hunters sitting in that camp. Yeah, I was over by, Sumner Brook, and this buck jumped up and went on. I left him over by that pine tree on the backside of the red. You guys should go there and see if you can get him. A lot of guys don't walk in and tell a whole camp where a big buck is that they can hunt, and he could hunt the next day. That's a guy that realizes that it's us. And it changed my whole, I don't want to say hunting career, but my whole outlook on hunting. It relaxed me. If you're against the other guy, there's tension. It takes a lot of fun out of the hunt.
Oh, yeah.
Now, is there a little competitiveness? Maybe. Did I want my buck to be heavier than yours? Sure I did. I mean, my horns crushed yours, but but it's all in good fun now. And up until he taught me that, it wasn't as much fun. It was like I was in a hurry to kill the deer before you did, there's plenty of bucks out there.
Yeah.
You
were competing with everybody else.
Yeah, kind of in my own head. And it was no, trust me, guys, if you take one thing from this, be happy for that other guy, because you know what? It's going to be your turn one day, and you want him to be happy for you.
Yeah.
You don't want that animosity between you. It was a lifelong lesson that I'll always be grateful for Jim Massa for teaching me that.
You remember what I said to you? I was with you when you shot your best buck ever. Do you remember what I said to you?
No, can't remember.
I hugged you and told you were my hero.
Oh,
That's how I felt about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how we should be, right?
I won't
No,
forget it
absolutely.
Yeah.
now. You reminded me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that, not only does that, and if Hal as a hunter knows that Lee's the other kind of guy, the guy who's a little bit competitive or whatnot, you shoot the buck, now you're feeling a little guilty. How's he going to react? You're reacting poorly to it. It took a lot away from that moment. Because 2 years from that, it could be Lee who shoots a great big buck, and you can return the favor, and it's all good. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but boy, what a difference it made in my life.
Yeah, I always tell people this ain't a competitive sport.
No,
The
just
only
in your own mind
competition
against
is
yourself.
between you and the deer you're after that day.
Absolutely.
That's the only competition there is.
Yeah.
For all you big woods buck hunters, if you're looking for an ideal base camp for hunting in the big woods, in the Adirondacks and Tug Hill, you gotta call our friends at Christmas and Associates. For over 35 years, they've been providing land and camps to sportsmen, 5 to 50 acres, rivers, streams, and ponds in some of the best locations, affordable prices, and in-house financing with low monthly payments. They can even build their Adirondack-style cabins on property you already own. For more info, call Christmas and Associates at 1-800-229-7843 or go to landandcamps.com. Visit Christmas and Associates on Facebook.
I got to tell you, if I didn't learn that lesson that many years ago, I probably would have been jealous of what Steve had shot, or mad at him, or disgruntled in some way, and it would have taken away from the whole experience.
Yeah.
Including my season, the rest of my season, and I was nothing more than happy for him.
Seems like after that, though, I kept missing clips from my gun, and my boots were wet
Well,
every morning.
he was becoming a professional hunter. I needed to adjust his sights for him, and I didn't want to bother him when he's sleeping. You got to help a guy out. But yeah,
I don't know what caused it. Just weird luck.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I don't know why them bullets didn't go off, Steve. I really don't know. But no.
Yeah.
No, but it is a great learning lesson that I got when I was very young. Very appreciative to that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hail to Jim Massett.
Yeah. I'll tell you, out of anything he or anyone else has taught me, that was the best lesson I could have gotten taught. You can learn a lot of stuff on your own.
That's a life lesson,
Yes.
not just a
You can learn a lot
lesson.
about killing deer from experience and all like that, but that lesson changed me,
Yeah.
When I used to go to when I first met Jim, and I would go to one of his seminars and whatnot, and we knew who he was, obviously, but we didn't know him. And you would tell him a story, and he wanted to hear it. You could tell he wanted to hear it. He would ask a question about it. And I would drive home with a smile on my face because Jim listened to my lesson.
Yeah.
I was an important guy in my head because Jim Massett listened to my lesson. So now years later, I'm getting old, and if a guy comes up and tells me his story, I return the favor, I hope, back into the thing because I listened to his lesson. You know, his story, and ask him a few questions. And I used to say Jim would rather hear a story than tell a story, and that's a great character, you know.
So, Steve, this is the gun you use all the time, rain or shine.
90% of the time.
Yeah.
I do have it's a Model 7, but I actually won the gun, the only reason I have it, but it's a nice gun. It's a Model 7 and 270 short mag. Mm-hmm. It's a Beanfield gun. Yeah. It's good, you know, I take it to Colorado.
In the woods, that's what
in the Adirondacks, that's pretty much the only gun I use. And I am casually looking for a smaller gun like this, like Joe's Browning or something with a small scope on it for the bluebird days, or if I do go up and on the rare occasion hunt with no snow or something like that. Right now I carry that 270, but it's a little heavy. But I do, and obviously I wouldn't have white if I weren't only hunting on snow. That's all we hunt. You know, I have 100 acres. Joe has 1,000 acres, and I don't know when last time either of us hunted our places is. You know, it's
been a long time ago since I hunted the farm, but
yeah.
You know,
and once again, if I've got kind of a messed up right elbow I've had since a kid, but I wouldn't be opposed to even having a lever action if my arm wasn't messed up and I can't run the action. You know, Henry and them, they make good guns, and you know that could be something that I would look at as well. It's whatever fits you right.
How long have you had this 760, Joe?
Oof, I missed the buck in, actually I think it was in 1988 or 87 with a 7600 that had the honeycomb stock on it, and I know I shot over him the way the sight lined up, and I remember, I wish I still had that gun because I got it brand new. My dad bought it for me, and I took it home. I said, this gun doesn't fit me. It's just what I said, and I didn't know anything about guns fitting. When I threw it up on the buck, and I remember pulling the trigger, and the bead was right at the top of the circle. I knew I'd shot over him. I didn't draw the bead to the center of the circle. I said, the gun doesn't fit. And I remember now, I believe it was in 88, because I shot that buck right over your left shoulder 2 weeks later. And I remember when the buck jumped, took 2 bounds and stopped, I remember line it up. That's all in my head said, line it up. And I shot him, but I didn't like the fact that I had to say line it up. So my dad, and he went to a gun show and found that 760. So however many years ago 1988 was, a lot of my bucks had died to that gun.
If you notice, Joe's a little superstitious. People have commented in the videos about this. Look right here.
Yeah,
still got the rail on it.
Remember I said I carried it with a see-through mount on it? Well, I took that scope off. I just never bothered to take the rail off.
The guys put all comment on it thinking that he's running a detachable scope or something like that, and I'm like,
I don't even know.
You don't even want to ask Joe when you're going to take that off. You just get this strange
the other
look.
4 screws. I never took it off.
I'll send you 4 screws, Joe.
I don't think I'll take it off.
At this point,
so I guess maybe
that's what I mean. I'll ask him when you're going to take that off. He just gives you a strange look.
Yeah, what do you do? But I will tell you, and it was funny because my dad saw the pictures. Well, one time I used to carry a little saw blade and a knife blade on the same. Anyway, I'd shot a buck and. The whole totally different story, but I didn't have a dragon stick, and I looked around for a minute. I said, these guns will drag a deer. So I hooked the rope right around the receiver right here, and I just grabbed it like that, and I put it behind me, and I was pulling the deer out. It was a nice snow, 6-7 inches of snow. He glided easy, wasn't catching one out. He said, that gun can handle that. Well, then I took a break, and I leaned the gun right in the rack, and I took it back, and I took a picture of it. Well, I got the pictures. I always gave the film to my mother to have the pictures developed, the old 35 millimeter pictures, and my father happened to flip through it. And he saw that rope around that gun. I got a little talking to then. You got to take care of that gun. What are you doing? Find a stick. What's wrong? Oh, I remember the reason why I did it, too. I didn't have a sling. I didn't have my sling with me. Well, what am I going to do with a gun if I don't have a sling when I go to drag the deer? So I used my gun was a sling. Or I was the dragon stick.
Without a sling, you carry your gun in one hand and the antler in the other.
Yeah, well, I'm not that big a guy.
I'm not either anymore.
Yeah. And,
I ain't the man I used to be.
Yeah. But, yeah. No, you get your favorite guns, I know, and once you got one, again. And I know I'm like a broken record, but practice is key.
That not 6?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
That one's out 6. And the other one, the Browning that I carry whenever the weather permits it, and it's clear out when that's a 7mm 08. It's just a little smaller than a 308. It's so much more about bullet placement than it is about the caliber.
But you got your bases pretty well covered with
right
those two
there.
guns
Yeah,
right there.
those two guns, I've got it.
I got a little quick story about a Browning like this and this pump gun. I was tracking a buck one day, second to the last day of the season, and I fell in walking through a beaver pond, and I fell in the water, and got back to. But long story short, I got back to the truck, and I couldn't eject the bullet. You know, I took the clip out and couldn't eject the bullet, so I ended up hitting the floor on the rocker panel of my truck, the floor part there, to get it to unload, because it was all frozen. You know, got water and it was frozen. I got back to Jim Massett's camp, and I told Jim, we got to do something about my gun. It's frozen or something. So we hung it up, upside down above his stove. We're sitting there, and all of a sudden we heard clunk. What was that? We look on the floor, and there's the bullet. The
lead?
300 grain or 30 caliber bullet, the lead, laying on the floor. I don't know if it worked its way. I don't know how it could have worked its way down the barrel or what happened, but the bullet fell out. Jim's sitting over there. You guys can't see him, but he'll attest to this. The bullet fell out, and I'm going, what the heck? The only thing we could figure was there was so much ice in there and everything from when I fell in the water that when I opened it up, the bullet stuck in the end of the barrel, but it pulled the casing off, and the powder was all over in there. So like, oh, that's weird. And so anyways, the next day I go back hunting to the same place because I tracked the buck until dark that way. I remember that day I found a 1/2 an 8-pointer with blood still on the pedestal tracking that buck. And I'm thinking, it wasn't the buck I was tracking, but I go, no, do I shoot this buck if I see it? I got the part he lost, you know? Anyways, I get to the spot the next morning and I couldn't load the gun. So like, what the heck? Well, what happened was all that powder and all that water and everything, when it melted, the ice was still in there. It got like a mush all in I don't know the parts of it, you know more than I do.
The chamber.
In the chamber there. And I couldn't even put the next shell in. So what the heck? I'm trying to clean it out and everything. I run back to camp. It's Sunday, the last day of the season. And Jim's the only one at camp still. He's going to church, so he didn't hunt that day. And I go, Jim, you got a gun cleaning kit? Yeah, why? What's wrong? I explained it to him quick. He goes, I'll take it home and clean it. Just take my gun. He goes, which one do you want? He had a Ruger 44 or a 308, just like this gun, similar to that Browning. He goes, you got a 308. Just take my 308. Okay. So I took his 308, and about 2 hours later, I shot a 10-pointer with it, with Jim's gun.
Nice.
Yeah.
So
there goes my theory of being comfortable with your own gun right out the window.
Right out the window.
Yeah.
And the first shot was left-handed at it, actually, too. Yeah. Caught him laying in his bed at like 15 yards, and I just grazed him. Of course, I was shooting left-handed. So
one thing that I think we can get out of all this, though, is Jim's quite a guy.
Yeah.
All these stories come back. Jim's quite a guy.
Yeah. All the rest is debatable. That part isn't. Yeah. No, it was a lot of fun hunting for years out of his camp. Them guys are some real hunters.
So what I always tell people, especially new people, that if they don't know what they want, you know, shop around, figure out what fits you. But I always tell them, even if you're going to use two guns like you do, get the same action. If you got a pump, get a pump. If you got a bolt, use 2 bolts. If you need a scoped one. But anybody that's done it long enough and hunted with different guns, you get the muscle memory for different guns. But it's much easier when you're new and you're still practicing and learning, is to get muscle memory for one action, not 2 or 3.
No, that is true. Yeah. But if you do if you do end up with 2 actions, practice with them both a lot.
Yeah.
You know, and you'll be fine.
I got a question for you, Steve, because we've touched on it, I think, in a podcast before, but with Joe's old 760, all the clips, what we call a clip, it's the magazine, but They're all good. This gun would have been new enough. It would have had the newer style clip with the plastic bottom. Have you replaced that with an old style clip, or have you had good luck with that plastic
I
clip?
still have the two original, the one that came with it, and right then I bought another one. I still have the same two original ones.
And you never had any problems?
Never had it. I take that back a little bit. You got to make sure that it's in there. You got to put it in, and then I smack it with the palm of my hand to make sure it's clipped, and then I feel it.
Clipped in good,
if you don't do that, you can.
Yeah, the newer ones don't just
don't
snap
seize good.
in like the old
Yep.
ones.
You do have to pound it in there pretty good and
Yeah.
make sure it's all cleaned in there and everything.
Yeah.
Yep.
I might have a spare.
I still got
Short
two.
action.
Save it for Joe if he loses one.
And that's more than likely. Not real good with that part. But yeah, that's another side tip on, as long as we're talking about guns, to care for your gun. Too many guys, new hunters and whatnot, think, well, it's metal, it's blued, you don't have to worry about it, and put it away or put it in a case at the end of the season and take it out a month later and it's rust bucket.
Yeah.
You know, you really do got to wipe them down for a few minutes and make sure she's clean.
Gun cases are famous for that.
Yeah.
If you're putting it inside of a gun case and taking it out during the season, the inside of that gun case gets wet.
Oh,
And then
yeah.
if you take care of it, if you put in that,
Go
I've
back
seen
in
that happen.
January and pull it out to clean it. You
Yeah.
might have a
What-
big mess on your hands.
What, Joe? If you have an extra clip for a Browning 7mm or 7 mag, Joe could probably use that one though.
Yeah. Well,
He needs an extra clip for his elk gun.
I don't have anything like that.
I had an elk story that I'd gotten out of my shells. I had to take Steve's gun, finish the job.
That was after the second clip.
Yeah. All right, Steve. You know,
can't let it
you
go.
got you just can't.
Hey,
let
I
it
will give
slide.
you hit him on the first shot.
I did. I hit him on several. It's just you don't want to let him get away. Hey,
Don't want them to get away.
Yeah. Another side note too on that one. We wait all years to shoot our gun in the woods.
Yeah.
Let's shoot it. You get the opportunity to let some fly. Let them go.
Yeah.
You know, get them out there. I told my dad it's not the first, or my best shot might be my fourth shot. I got to get rid of the first three first.
I've had you literally get that feeling too when you're shooting at something. You just got sometimes you're like trying to get on it and you just can't. So you got to shoot and reload and re-get yourself. Even though it only takes a second, sometimes getting rid of that shit, it's like a bad shell or something. Get rid of it and then you're on them again. You know what I mean?
That's
I've done
right.
that with deer and other things too.
Yep,
You know.
Yep. Yeah, just got to keep them going and get comfortable. But
Yeah,
if
you
you're
get hung
comfortable
up
with
and
your gun,
then you're done. Get hung up and don't pull it. You got to just pull it and work to the next one.
Yep.
Can't be hesitant.
You was talking about having your gun case wet, and that's common if it's a snowy day or it's been raining. I carry mine in a soft case because Ramcharge doesn't ride like a caddy, you know, when it's bouncing around. I keep it in a case, soft case. But if it's a wet day, well, I go in anyways. I lug it back into the cellar because I put my gun by my wood stove every night and get everything dried inside. But if it was wet, I zip the case all the way open it up and lay it down to dry the inside every night.
Yeah.
'Cause I learned that way back that time when me and Chris sunk my snowmobile there in Ontario, and my gun case was soaking wet. And I thought I had dried it. We had a drying rack, remember, down in the cellar where the wood furnace was. And it was there all week. We did that the first day, and I hung that gun case up in there all week. And I figured it had to be dry, so when I put my gun in it to come back home, when we got back home, actually, I think when we got to the border, I think that was the year they had to look at our guns at the border coming back or something. Or maybe it was when I got home, doesn't matter. But when I pulled my gun out of that case, it had all the way up the barrel, it had pock marks where it took the rust spots, where it took the bluing off. It had pitted already in that, 30-hour trip. Time we packed up and left. They're still there. Those are my battle scars now on my gun. I put some of that cold bluing on it, but that's gone. I don't even worry about it now. I got a polka dotted barrel a little bit, but.
Well, that's a great tip because I never really thought about that much.
I learned it from my clients. My clients were doing it all the time, and I told them you can't do that. You got to bring that thing in at night and dry it out, because if you've been out in the wet snow all day, the inside of them things get wet. And then if you take care of that and leave it for 2 days, you're going to have rust on your barrel stuff.
No, that's great. I
And once it pits, it's gone. The bluing's gone.
Yeah.
It's gone. You can take a steel wool and get the pit's smoothed out a little bit, but
Well, that buddy of ours, Zach Smith, he can make her look like new again, but now you got the cost of sending it out, getting a professional to do it right. And yeah, it's not.
you don't want to make them look new again.
Well,
You
if
want that
it's-
continuous wear over the years.
Right. And unless
you
you
got a
pit it
good-
up bad.
You got a pretty good sheen going on yours.
Yeah.
You don't want to fix that.
No, you
that's
definitely
bad
don't.
juju fixing that up.
Yeah, well, you're not kidding. That's why that rail's not coming off top of that gun.
Yeah, but that doesn't that interfere with you carrying it? It's like you're trying to hang on to that mount.
I don't know.
Evidently not.
Evidently,
Because
not.
if
She
it
still comes
if
with
it
me
did
anywhere I go.
if it did bother you, the
gone.
rail wouldn't be on there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought of one thing that has to do with the guns, kind of we didn't touch on at all. And I've been doing this for years. I went to the pump gun to try to be a little bit quicker. One thing, I don't know if you guys have ever noticed this. I shoot nickel brass too. I get my buddy Jim Tolbert reloads my bullets for me, 180 Nosler partition, round nose. And I use nickel brass, which is almost impossible to find. I've got reloads, and even I guess the guys that reload it say it's hard to reload nickel because it's a lot harder. But he does it for me. And if you stack that with nickel brass and you cycle it through, it's smoother than using brass, regular brass.
Slipper, yeah.
If you take two of those bullets and rub them on each other, you can literally feel the difference. And every little thing you can get, you know what I mean? Why not take advantage of it if you can, you know? And I realized that a long time ago. It makes a difference in that pump gun anyways, because they're rubbing on each other. Some guns, they don't rub on each other as much.
Yeah. Cycles quicker, you're saying? Or smoother anyway?
Smoother, yeah. Yep.
I'll stick to my core locks.
Well, you could use core lock and nickel brass.
I'm not that technical. It's, my motto is if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yep. I started out doing it, so I'm going to keep
That's why
doing
he's
it.
keeping the rail on his gun.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. I haven't had any trouble
There's
cycling
still a lot
through
that I
mine.
need to fix, but that's not one of them. But
Yeah.
anyways.
That's a 760, that pump. Yeah.
Yeah. That one's an old girl. Yeah.
That's the, on my Throwback Thursdays, I've touched on it more than once, so the 760s from the 70s and the 7600s from the 80s, that's the sweet spot for the bluing is the best bluing job. The finish on the stalks is the most durable. They're just, if you're gonna look for one and pay
An
good
older.
money, those 760s from the 70s and the 7600s from the 80s are hard to beat
Yeah.
for
yeah.
durability. Just the finish is the best.
Must be, because that one's been put through the war and back, and it does. It's
Oh, you
standing
got to
the
think
test
that,
of time.
that gun's 50 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Still doing its job. Yeah. I think the action has something to do with, and just on a side note, I personally wouldn't recommend an automatic doing what we do, because we get, like Steve had mentioned, all the snow, ice, and whatnot. You're bound to mess up that action on a hard day. These, at least, you can manually work them hard, But if you're going to tree stand hunt or some fair weather hunting, I suppose the automatic would be okay.
Yeah. The other thing with the pumps is in the snow gets down in your slide, and that sometimes what freezing, even if I know you dropped it in the water, Steve, but if you get, it's usually the right temperature when like the snow hits it, but it's cold enough to freeze, but the heat from your hand, I think, are against you. It melts and it starts running down in there. And then at the end of the day, you got a bubble of snow on the top of your barrel. That's froze up.
Froze up, yeah.
So what I do when I go underneath a tree that's got powder and it dumps on my handrail, I just immediately tip it over and just tap it like that and get the bulk of the snow out. Now, I did have one, was it last year? I think it was last year. I had one day I got back out of the woods, and I'd been taking care of it, and I went to unload it, and it's frozen solid. I can't get that thing back. So I didn't have any recourse except I just started the ram charger up, and I turned the defrost on full, and I set it up on the defroster. So I had a loaded gun in the truck, but what are you going to do?
Yeah.
I had to get it unloaded. So
I can remember.
I got it. Just took a couple minutes, and it was enough to get that out of
I
there.
can remember standing in outside of my dad's truck at the exhaust pipe, holding my automatic there, letting the exhaust try to thaw it out.
Oh, yeah. I never thought of doing it the exhaust way, but the defrost worked pretty good because I was sitting
You're
inside
sitting
warming
in the
up.
truck, I'm sitting out there freezing and breathing in all that. Well, that's
And
why.
you didn't have a buzz when you were done.
Right,
right.
yeah. You got to try my way out. No. But
Yeah.
no, it was all good. But yeah, practice. What can I say? Well,
So what's the best buck you shot with your bolt action?
geez, I don't know. You know, with my two guns, it's probably 50-50 on.
There in the middle was your bolt, wasn't it?
Yeah, I guess it was that buck. The buck I told you the story
yeah.
and that was only a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. I could tell you a whole bunch of my best bucks that I've missed with both guns. Lack of practice. You gotta practice. But yeah, for me, the bolt action, the reason why I went to the Browning with it is because of my messed up right arm. My thumb sits on top when my trigger finger goes in. I can't grab the pistol. My finger comes out of the trigger. So it fits me. And, you know, that might be because of a little bit of a handicap in my elbow, but that's what I mean by the gun fitting you. That's another thing on a side note. When you go to practice with these guns, you'll be amazed if you stand back and you want to shoot 3 or 4 fast rounds, you'll find the flaws. You know, if your gun's not clean, if something's not right, if the bullets aren't injecting smoothly, that's when you find them. Because I've seen many times, been guilty of it myself. You go up and shoot 3 rounds, you put 1 bullet in, you shoot it, you go up, check your target. You put another bullet in, you shoot it, you go up and check your target, and you unload it, you know, after you shot, nice and easy. Well, then if you put your shoebox up at 60 yards and you just shoot a clip through or 4 through, and you shoot all 4 fast, now you know the hang-ups. And like Steve said, the glove didn't work, the safe is hanging up, the bullet didn't come out, and the chamber needs cleaning. You find the flaws. And not only that, by the 3rd or 4th clip full, it's just working smoother. Everything's working smoother. It's like going to the driving range if you golf 4 or 5 different times and it's starting to come together.
Yeah, I think
You know?
the biggest thing that when people don't do that in practice is I don't care if they got a bolt, pump, lever. If they're new at it and they're trying to get to practice, whatever they do, they'll invariably will short stroke that.
Yep.
And they won't rack one in.
Or or they'll stand there and go, there he goes, and never fire the gun.
Yeah.
Or they're
So
just
you'll know if you short stroke it at the range because you ain't going to shoot the
You're never
next time.
shoot,
You go,
yeah.
what's going on?
Or
and
even like you had mentioned about the clips on some of the newer 7600s, and you got to hit them like Steve had said to make sure they're in. Well, if you go to the range and you shoot 2 or 3 or 4 quick shots, well, if the second one didn't rack in, and that's why, you're going to check that from then on. You just kind of it's the polish you need right before the season.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a big believer on it. And to be honest with you, sometimes I don't get there till the season's starting. But I feel a lot more comfortable if I do. You know, and I'm fortunate enough to live in an area where I can, in 5 minutes, be at the sand pit and shoot, 5-10 rounds.
Yeah.
Well,
So get all the mistakes worked out in the beginning before deer
Right.
season.
I can miss them plenty being prepared. I surely
Yeah.
don't want them shoot at them not being prepared.
Yeah. It's not hard to miss one. There's a lot of sticks in the woods to hit too.
Oh, yeah. I'm a
Yeah.
lumberjack with the best of them.
Yeah.
Well, is it time to wrap her up? Is that what we're getting the signal? It's been an hour. People don't want to sit here much longer, do they?
What do you got? Something to do?
No, I can tell stories all day.
I thought you want to go down and milk some cows.
Let's not start talking crazy. We're having too good a time with you boys. No, but
Yeah. No, I think we pretty much covered the guns end of it, and yeah, it's a personal choice what people want. Just
personal
get a gun
choice.
that fits and stick with it, and get some history with it.
Yep. Couple of tips when you pick your gun. If you can pick a light one, fine. If it's not, practice with it. Get good with it.
Yeah.
I
I
think
had,
that even goes true with even in a tree stand, shooting out of a tree stand.
Yeah.
I think if you're good with your gun, you're good with your gun.
Yeah, I got Rylan his gun for this 300 Savage there for Christmas one year, and
Where'd you get that gun?
I got a buddy that gave me a deal on that. And
Must be a good guy.
yeah, he is.
He learned that from Jim Massett.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah. And so anyways, he shot a couple deer with it, bear with it, moose with it. So I ended up last year, I picked up a carbine 308. 760, a later one like yours. And I said, it was a really nice one. I said, yeah, maybe Rylan will want that instead of his 300 Savage. I told him, I said, hey, I got this 308 carbine. I said, if you'd rather have that than your 300 Savage, you can take it and use that instead of your. Nope. He said, I got time in with that now. I've shot some animals. That's the one I'm going to hunt with.
There you go. Once again, you get your favorite gun or the gun you're comfortable with, and he's obviously comfortable with that one.
Yeah, then this year he shows me, he goes, look at this here pupper. He said, I'm starting to wear the bluing off on this.
Yeah. Starting to get it personalized a
That's
little
right.
bit, a little wear and tear. That's good.
That's right.
Yeah.
Wearing it into his hands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, good for him.
All
That's
right.
awesome.
Well, good conversation here.
Yeah. Happy that you guys invited me and Steve.
Yeah,
on.
well, we appreciate the hospitality and being out here and all that. So, all I can say is it won't be long till deer season.
Right. So get your rifles out and start shooting. Whether the 22s, like Lee said, which is a great point, or the high power. I always recommend a little of the high power toward the end.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You get her running. And it's fun. You know? And you don't got to wait for your buddies to do it. You can do that alone.
Oh, yeah.
You know, go down to your gun range or whatever and let some ride.
Yeah.
Be a lot of fun. And get
Well, everybody, thanks for tuning in. And I hope you enjoyed this episode about guns. Make sure you subscribe. Get your notifications. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, all that social media stuff. Support our sponsors. And till next time, good luck on the trail.